Automating transactions and specifically purchasing and payable transactions can yield huge savings to your organization. It enables rapid growth and redeployment of key personnel to scale your business and save money, a lot of money. But everyone already knows that. The real question is, will it work for you? Can it work in your environment with your rules and with your systems? The answer is yes. The answer is TrendDocs. TrendDocs is a fully integrated procurement to payment document management solution. The product's designed for the mid-market with enterprise-rich features at a price that is refreshingly affordable. TrendDocs has the ability to provide electronic requisitions and provide an automatic payment solution to provide complete automation of your entire procurement process and help manage your cash flow. TrendDocs automates each step, eliminating unneeded manual actions.
Please welcome our next speaker, Jeremy Vyska, CEO of Spare-Brained Ideas AB. Today, Jeremy will be presenting his session, Voyage through the BC Information Archipelago. Please stick around after Jeremy's session for a live Q&A.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to DynamicsCon 2021. Today's session on Voyage through the BC Archipelago is a tour through all of the islands of information in the Business Central community. My background is that I'm an IT networking background who cross-trained into the Navision Financials platform in about 20 years ago, right after Y2K. I've been working with the product this whole time and worked as a trainer, support, developer, CEO, and I've helped out lots of startups, existing partners, ISV solutions, solve their problems and move forward with the technology in lots of ways. In that vein, this year, my focus is all about giving back to the community, and that's going to happen through speaking and tutoring, code samples, how-tos, lots of different community tools you'll be seeing coming from me this year. Today, we're going to be covering a few different elements to the BC Archipelago, which includes the Microsoft resources. We'll end up at the community tools. We'll be talking about forums and blogs. We'll be talking about books, chats, and meetup, and we'll stop by the social networks as well. We'll also try to talk to how to keep up. So as we go through the different slides, there are intended focus audiences for each of these. So you'll see that they are going to be tagged for what is for end users. There will be some that will be tagged for experts. This is system administrators or project managers, consultants who work with the product. And there are also going to be topics that are specific to developers and things like that. So we have those on each of the slides in different corners. You'll see them as we go through. All of the links will be listed on sparebrain.com/map, and you'll find this QR code and link again at the end of the session. While we're going through everything today, I will also be taking and answering questions in the chat as we go. So, without further ado, let us set sail first to Microsoft Island. So, you will find reference to, there were 3 tools in the Microsoft ecosystem called Partner Source, Customer Source, and the Dynamics Learning Platform. There are lots of links to these, references to these, so I wanted to start out and mention that things like Partner Source Business Center is still around, but Partner Source isn't. Customer Source has been retired as well, but lots of great content was on there, and thankfully they've moved most of that to the Docs platform, so we'll be talking about that shortly. Additionally, there was the Dynamics Learning Portal platform, which had lots of course content about how the product worked. That is still available, and you will find that most of that portal content has also been moved to the Docs platform under the Learn umbrella. And there are still indexes that you can link through to find all of that course content that was for previous versions or has been updated to new versions. Speaking of Microsoft Learn, on Microsoft Docs, there is the Learn subsection that covers lots of products, not just Dynamics now, like Azure and GitHub and Power Platform, Teams, all sorts of different things. For Business Central community, one of the things you're going to want to start with is the Dynamics 365 Learning Paths. And a learning path guides you through multiple different modules within the Learn platform. Each of these modules has different little subsections, so it can be really valuable to jump into these and do the check your knowledge section to see, do I really know everything about this part of the system? Additionally, you can browse all of the different content for a given product family, like Dynamics 365 Business Central, and you can filter that content down by the intended role of the people it's aimed for, such as we can see that there are 200 courses currently aimed at business users. Very valuable, and all of these are free, so great tool. Additionally, there is the Ideas platform. This is the feedback tool Microsoft takes for developing the product. So if we look in general, you can see you submit an idea to be voted on by the community, and you can see what the current status of your idea submission is. Additionally, the Microsoft teams, such as here, the program managers, come and give feedback on things. This is intended for customers and partners. So as a partner, if you're working with your customers and they want something to work differently, encourage them to participate in the Ideas platform. This is one of the means by which Microsoft really responds to feedback. The community site on the Microsoft platform is a place where they not only link to lots of different content that we just talked about, but they also host blogs and what we're going to look at now, forums. And the forums work as you might expect. They have the ability to ask questions and people can give suggested answers and people can verify that an answer has been solved. Thanks, Steve. You can also see that there are lots of blogs that have been curated to ensure that they are regularly posting content, and you can see all of those, such as mine. You can see all the latest posts from any given blog within that platform. The crown jewel of the Microsoft collection, in my mind, is the Docs platform. There's so much content here, from basic little working with Business Central little tips to covering all of the different functional areas that are within the product itself, as well as administration and deep dive technical concepts about security and compliance. Plus, it's all in GitHub. It is an open source docs platform for feedback. You can submit a request on every document. For example, this one that was for a developer, I had submitted a request that said, hey, we need an example to really understand how to use this functional feature. And within a month, the docs team had reviewed it, updated it, and put all that info together. Sometimes it can be very fast, and they do a great job of responding to feedback. So I strongly recommend it. If you are a partner organization or are just an expert in the product itself, you can also submit pull requests to improve the product directly. This tip is not for end users. This is for people working only in the partner ecosystem. There is a network called Yammer. If you haven't used it before, you can sign up to the Dynamics Yammer platform and they will verify you're a partner. And as you can see, there are different functional areas by which you can interact with those product teams within the Microsoft ecosystem, such as App Source or localization teams. So it can be very valuable as a partner to participate in this space, and they will ask questions of partners for feedback. With that part of our tour over, let's head over to forums and blogs. And there is a lot of content here. So the best place for us to start when it comes to blogs, I think at the moment, is Steve Endo's blog. And the reason for that is we have the Dynamics 365 resource list pinned right at the top here. And you can see that this is a mega post that he has created of all of the Microsoft resources, the Business Central shortcuts that are official from Microsoft that you can use and easily link other people to, such as App Sites Telemetry or keyboard shortcuts, as well as links to all of the training courses, the forums, the conferences, such as this one, Docker resources, development guides, books, business news, and a long list of active blogs in the community. As you can see, there are quite a bunch of them. We're going to come back to Waldo's blog in just a moment, because now we have to ask the question of, with a list this long, how are we supposed to keep up? That's a little scary. How are you supposed to pay attention to over 40 blogs on a regular basis? What I do that helps me keep up is RSS. It's an older technology, but it is still one of the very strongly supported tools. There are great platforms for it in any number of ecosystems. Today, we're going to talk about how to use it in a tool you probably already use, which is Outlook. If we go over to Waldo's blog, we can see there's lots of content here, and it's pretty good stuff. If you're a developer and you haven't heard of him, you should have. But if we go down to the bottom, we can right-click on that RSS post, at least in Microsoft's world. Maybe Mac is a little different. We can copy that, and in Outlook, the RSS feeds folder allows us to add a new feed. And when we paste that in, I'm going to open up Advanced to show you a couple options. You can manually name that whatever you would like to. But one of my favorite features in this Advanced menu is you can choose to download the full article as an attachment. And this makes sure that no matter what happens to that blog content, whether it goes offline, it's shut down, deleted, you always have that available after the fact. And as you can see, by adding that here in my Outlook, I now have an extensive list of some of the most recent content from this given RSS feed. That varies by different content providers. Sometimes it'll be 10, sometimes 15, sometimes 100. But most places you'll find there's some link down, usually towards the bottom for an RSS feed, and sometimes it's up front and obvious. The other advantage to this is that Outlook has a great search functionality. So if you bring your app source feed, bring your RSS feeds into your Outlook, you can go ahead and do advanced search not only within a blog, but across all of the blogs. So if you're just trying to remember, I saw a couple months ago, there was a great article about app source, and I don't know where it was, Outlook can help you search for it across all of these different platforms. Now, with that in mind, the places we've already been, the Microsoft Community Forum, that has an RSS feed. So we can add that and keep an eye on all the latest questions and answers in the forum. And same sort of thing. Once again, now we have that index that is maintained for us all the time, and it becomes a very searchable thing. As you can see, we got the latest 25 topics, and that'll continue to update. Anything on the Docs platform, such as information about Wave 2 updates and things like that, if you can search on it, you can get an RSS result set for that search. So now, anytime articles change, I can have info about that. The Learn platform is under the Docs umbrella, which means that the Learn platform has the same tools. So if I need to know if there's any new Business Central warehousing videos going on to the Learn platform, I can search on that on Learn and get the RSS feed for that search and add that. And now I'll be notified anytime that content is uploaded, changed, anything like that on the warehousing platform. Next up, we have the Twin Islands of Community Forums. Mabuso is a site that has a lot of history. They've been around for well over 2 decades now, and they have lots and lots of history and content, and so much of it is still relevant today. You can see it's still broken down by a lot of different sections, but the great part about them is much like Dynamics User Group runs DynamicsCon, they also run Tech Days for technical people as a conference. So that we'll mention later. The individual forums, if we look at this and we go, well, that's great, but can we bring that into RSS? Yes. Yes, we can. So we can grab an RSS feed of this forum as well. And now we're kind of getting a sense of we can keep up with the tempo of all these different pieces of the community and bring those into one place. Dynamics User Group is a fantastic resource for not just Business Central. You may recognize the logo. They run DynamicsCon, which you're attending now. Business Central, Power Platform, lots of different topics. But if we look into the Business Central side of things, we can see, again, a master core component is forums, but also blogs, events, wikis, things like that. If we look in Developers Forum, this forum, we could go ahead and say, I want to keep up to date with some of the latest discussions in Dynamics User Group. Well, that has an RSS feed as well. So we just grab that RSS feed and bring that over into our Outlook. Now we've got a unified dashboard of all of these different, very diverse information sources. And that brings it into one place where you can very quickly scan through all the latest info. Now that we've got all of that under control, let's swing over to social networking to add more to try to keep track of. We have the LinkedIn ecosystem. The LinkedIn ecosystem is pretty useful for a variety of things. One of the things I will recommend is always change your sort to recent, because sometimes it promotes things that are a little older. And the best part about LinkedIn for me is that it has all sorts of webinars and events that companies are usually hosting and promoting. Secondly, they also have great information from different groups. So you can see that there are lots of group contents, and some of these have thousands of members sharing tips, webinars, free events that you can be learning and getting value from. So that can be very useful. One of the places I get a lot of my most value out of is, surprisingly, Twitter. Stefan Maron runs a great list here of the not only the Dynamics BC community, but also all of the DynamicsCon speakers. But if we go into the community, we can hit just a follow button, and that will now give us a view on Twitter of all of just the posts that are coming from those very BC-centric people. And it becomes a shortcut available in your list panel. On your mobile device, it'll be just a quick tab change at the top. So that can be a very great way to keep up. I make use of something called Hootsuite to additionally take a couple different views of the community. So I not only use the list as a stream in the Hootsuite platform, but also using hashtags like my MS Dynamics 365 BC and the BCAL help hashtag, which developers use when they need help with the BCAL programming language. More on that a little later. We also have the YouTube platform. Microsoft runs a great one, Dynamics 365, that has a playlist for Business Central on lots of different topics. Some of them are little technical concepts like app source and using Azure key storage, or even simple things like how to create a purchase order. These are usually made as short little how-to videos so that they're very easy to get a few-minute quick answer to solving a problem. They are a great team to interact with and ask questions to, and sometimes they will make little short how-to videos to guide you through some of the basics. These are incredibly handy to have as links to new users, so I strongly recommend that. We also, of course, have DynamicsCon. The DynamicsCon platform, which you may be watching this on right now, puts all of their content online after the conference is over in their YouTube space. So there's still a great deal of content from, for example, last fall that is available for you to watch right now. Strong recommend, of course. As mentioned before, Mabuso runs the NAV Tech Days, now BC Tech Days. That event, they have been capturing for a number of years. They're in-person events. So if you take a look, there's still lots of content in here that is of great value. Lots of different things of how to make the most of Business Central out of Docker and things that are still relevant today. Super useful resource for technical people. Steve Endo also runs a YouTube channel where he does live streams. I greatly enjoy his I Need Coffee series as he kind of learns his way around all of these different technologies. He's a GP technical person coming on over into BC, and that's been a lot of fun. He's also doing a stream for developers of learning how to do some of the development techniques using some community source books. So that's a great resource. Eric Haugard runs a fantastic YouTube series, mostly leaning towards the expert and developer ecosystem, but he does have some great content for everyone. Generally speaking, if I have a technical question on how to do something as a dev, this is one of the places that I go look to first these days, because odds are pretty good he's covered something I'm trying to figure out. Additionally, I have my own platform that I was doing a live streaming project last summer while I was on vacation, teaching people how to do development from scratch by building a game on the BC platform. And my partner and I started Spare-Brained Ideas, and we're going to be presenting lots of content on how-to development, guides around the ecosystem, and showing some of the design patterns. So that'll be a lot of fun. So, with the social networks now also taken care of, let's talk a little bit about books, chats, and meetups. So, with the pandemic, the meetup world has gone a lot more virtual, and that has made it more accessible for a lot of people. But first, let's talk Pact. Pact is one of the bigger players in the publication industry for Dynamics books, particularly Dynamics Business Central. I have books by my side all the time. So I strongly recommend looking through their collection to see if there are some things for you. If you're an expert to do implementation or developer, Dynamics NAV books are still also fairly relevant for the developers, and some of the design thinking about patterns and how the product works. Those are still pretty relevant. The product continues to evolve along those lines. Eric, for example, does, however, have a great thing called the Field Guide, which is great for users. And this covers a lot of key technical concepts of setup, as well as lots of shortcuts and optimizations. That is available as an ebook and also in print via Amazon. So well worth the looking at. One of the chat options open to us is something called Discord. This is a text and voice chat based system. So if we look here, when you join Discord, you will find that what we have in the BC Professionals Discord server is lots of different topics on application, technology, things about the community, as well as voice channels where people will hang out and discuss technical concepts on a regular basis. We have lots of MVPs who participate, so that's pretty great. In the BCAL Help text channel, we've got some special logic in that it goes out to Twitter and fetches all the BCAL Help tweets. We also, in the Discord platform, can collapse the section headings, as you saw there, so that way you only see the channels that have unread. It makes it very easy to keep up. You can also look at the member list to see if there's people who maybe could answer a technical question for you about a given topic, and you can also search. That search functionality includes BCAL Help, so there is a lot of power to being able to search through the Discord for past technical issues and be able to find answers to many of them. We also have virtual meetups going on. Saurav Dhyani has the BC Open Discussion platform on a regular basis. I believe this is every 2 weeks or so, and this is just open to everyone who wants to join. And it looks like it may have even been on a weekly basis most recently. So that's pretty fantastic. Those are all recorded and can be watched after the fact. So there is lots of content there, and that is all hosted on his YouTube channel. That is an open discussion, so you can ask all sorts of questions. I believe that one's mostly aimed at experts and devs, but if you have user-based questions, they probably can help you. Separately, we have something called the BC Biranar, and Christoph runs this. And despite my last name, I will butcher his. I'm not good enough yet at Polish pronunciation. Sorry, Christoph. So we have the BC Biranar, and this is aimed at experts and professionals in the industry, and also developers. And we cover lots of different things as technical concepts, such as design patterns, clean code, Git, and we have a lot of fun. This is not recorded so that it is a more informal setting for people to get together. Since we can't go down to the end of the conference hall and go grab a beer with our dev buddies and things like that, this is a space we can do that virtually, which has made it very accessible. Although, given the end of European Day, many of the people joining from the US joined with coffee, not beer. And let's head over to talk a little bit about community tools. But before we get over to community tools, which are aimed at experts and developers primarily, let's address something. If you've been working with a developer in the past few years, you have probably noticed that they seem a little stressed out. There's a little challenge around getting straight answers about how long things are taking and difficulties around giving good estimates and things. Why is that? Well, you have to understand that developers in our space have been working with a product often for a very long time, that there was a regular update pattern that was stable and consistent over time. You had to know the product platform, the different functional areas, and how the logic worked, and your developer tools didn't change much. This screenshot, for example, featured a major advancement when they added color. So it wasn't something that changed much over 20 or 30 years. And everything you really needed as a developer was pretty much on the DVD. There wasn't a whole rich ecosystem of development tools around this, and what you got, it was what you got, whether it was good or bad. These days, we have a slightly different story. Those were the top 50 new technologies and concepts that people are struggling with right now and trying to make use of within their ecosystem. So if you're wondering why are your devs so overwhelmed, it is because keeping up is almost an impossible task. They have to go to plaid. It's very difficult. So with that in mind, I get the question, what is the benefit of adding all of that technology, that infrastructure, all of these things? That's a huge investment in time and knowledge, and keeping up is really hard. So why? And the answer to that is that Microsoft is investing heavily in developing and moving the product forward, moving the platform forward. So to do that, they have to continuously evolve the product, which means that we need to keep up with that. That means that as releases are coming out in cloud, all of the things that we're releasing as per tenant extensions or that we're releasing app source, they need to keep up as well. And it is not feasible to keep up with that using the manual testing strategies that were utilized for a very long time in our industry. So that means that we need a whole infrastructure around that testing framework, deployment strategies, things like that. The advantage to this is even for your on-premise customers, by adopting these tools and adopting these behaviors, these patterns, everything that you need, you are going to get better consistent results. You're going to get better quality results. The advantage to using all of these tools and techniques is that you will ensure that you never repeat errors, that you create all these scenarios that you will take into account, and you will be sure that you are delivering something good. So, with that said, to help keep up with all of that, let's go look at some of the community's tools that they use to keep up. First of all, let's talk about some of the free extensions that your developers are using today in Visual Studio Code, or if they're not, they should be. These folks have produced free tools that improve the development environment in very, very significant ways. If your developers are using this in your partner organization, you have saved hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars in time because of these folks. And you probably, if you're not the developer in your organization, have not heard of them. So something to be aware of, these people are saving you a lot of time and money. And as a special thank you then, I have to say thank you to Cosmo Group for leading the way on partner practices, saying thank you to those developers in a meaningful sort of way, in the way that they've asked to be thanked. So think about it. It was very good PR for them. You should too. AL Studio is a free tool, but there are also some premium features that help developers in a significant way. He continues to develop that on a weekly basis, and it's hard to even keep up for me on all the great things he's adding. Most recently, this includes like translation tools to make that run faster, but the development environment becomes much richer, and we can provide greater information to customers and collaborators. For example, something I can do in AL Studio using these tools that I don't know of any other great way to do, I can, in a visual way, send to a customer what pages are going to look like with the developed solution. And using those tools, I can very quickly and easily give a customer a list of exactly which extensions are affecting the page and how, which is something I don't know that we had a really good handle on before. So there are some fantastic features in this. You should be looking at this, and you should probably be subscribing to this. If you are working with DevOps, DevOps is a great platform for doing continuous integration, for doing the build pipelines, for doing the production releases, for even deployment. All of those things take knowledge, time, and infrastructure to set up. You can absolutely do that with just Azure DevOps and Azure Build Agents to deploy those by yourself using PowerShell. It will take you time and effort to figure out. So if you're willing to invest that time and effort to figure out and you have the spare time to do that, power to you. Me, I would recommend taking some shortcuts. Two of the shortcut paths open to you right now that I know of include ALOps. ALOps creates a lot of tools that you can install into your pipelines that massively streamline working with Docker and Business Central. They make it very, very easy so that you don't have to know a lot of the PowerShell functionality. And once you've set up these templates and these pipelines, it's very easy to maintain those. If you are not a shop that can set up all of the Azure DevOps, the Docker setup, all of these things, Cosmo has a more full-featured solution called the DevOps and Docker Self-Service Platform. And if you work with them, they will do all of that for you. And they have a variety of tools that make it great to work with non-developers in your organization, approving features and functionality for release cycles and things like that. So both of these are worth a look at and potentially investment in. Over in GitHub, there are also some great tools slowly coming into being. Stefan Moron, who we mentioned earlier, his BC Code History project, fantastic. What he does is he grabs all of the BC code, every version, and stores it in a repo. And he does it in a way that you can do comparative. So you don't have to wonder between BC 17.2 and 17.3, what is the difference in the customer card? He's got it. You can take a look. You can see every line difference. Pretty fantastic. There are other tools out there like the newly released BCAL Toolbox Henrik put out. We have our own Spare Brain Ideas where we put demo code and tools that usually go along with blog or video content. Luke, who does the ATDD testing patterns, has some great test and performance tools. And Simon, who is also speaking at this event, I hope you enjoy his session, does a great coverage of Azure Blob Storage. So there are tools out there, and I expect to see a lot more of these developing over the next couple of years. It's going to be pretty fantastic. So that wraps up the developer and expert side of the community tools. So let's head on back to Doc and talk about a couple of things that will get us through wrapping things up in a nice way. If you are a user and you are wanting to keep up with all of the things that are going on, what should you focus on? Microsoft Docs is your primary focus. That is the place where they're going to document new and planned features. It's going to be where they add all the documentation around that new functionality so you know how things are going to be used. For example, there's a great deal of change coming in how they're working with the email system. There's some great new functionality in that space. So I would definitely say Microsoft Docs is one of your best places to keep an eye on. And you can follow the Twitter channels for just the Microsoft documentation team. So they're the people I would say you would want to watch the most. If you have questions as a user, the primary place that I would recommend that you head off to is forums. The Microsoft community forums is a place where you might get a little less community engagement from the general world, but you will get more Microsoft engagement. So it can be potentially possible to get answers directly from some of the support engineers on Microsoft's team who help answer community questions. Mubuso and Dynamics User Group are both very, very embraced by the community. So those are places to find lots of info. And odds are pretty good because the partner platform has been around for a long time on both those sites. Someone probably had your question even 15 years ago and maybe already had gotten it answered. The wonderful thing of BC being built on a long-standing technology platform, I've seen people make jokes that a 17-year-old forum post answered their question. So there's a lot of content there. Definitely check those out when you have questions. For using things such as the business platform, YouTube and blog are definitely the places to watch for usability and tips. That will definitely be where you want to go as a user. For the people who are going to be experts, whether again that be system administrators or implementation professionals, projects leaders, consultants, anything like that, as well as developers, my recommendation is do quick checks of Twitter. It only takes usually a few minutes on your phone, especially if you're following just one of the lists. It only takes a few minutes to see if there's anything latest and greatest. That I usually will say it takes a 5-minute check every day on my phone. Easy. 15, 20 minutes each week I allocate to just scanning through all the RSS to see is there any content that matters to me. And it becomes very easy to stay on top of blogs with that. If you work in a partner practice that has multiple people in your role, one of the things that you can do to try to keep up with all this is to split it up. If you're a developer and you've got 3 other developers in your shop and you're trying to keep up with what are all the new things you need to know about in AL, set someone to have the role on a rotating case each week, that 15, 20 minutes each week, your turn, next week it's my turn. Nice and easy. If you are any sort of managerial person, whether it be product or project or of a consulting practice or anything like that, if you have influence over the decision-making process for partner organizations, devote time to skill up days. Once a month, whatever makes sense for your organization, whatever you can do for at least even a short period of time while we're in this transitionary space where there's all of these new tools, you will gain huge ROI from allocating time to, in a non-client way or a non-product way, let your team play with the tools and learn how they work. You will find that there is fantastic benefit from that. They will find new ways of working with things. They will produce better quality results. My live streaming project I did last year, I did on my vacation because it made me a better developer. If you have budgetary discretion in your organization, it is absolutely vital, especially right now during the pandemic. There are such great training sessions being provided remotely and virtually that you should be sending your staff to. Even if you only send one of your staff to, you should be taking advantage of this. There are people who are offering consultative services around key topics to help you get started with things, such as DevOps and all that sort of whatnot. Budget the planning, budget the training. You will absolutely get all that money back. It is very worth doing. So, with that said, we are going to be doing a Q&A session shortly. Stick around and we'll talk more about any of the things that you've seen today. But you can always contact me about any of the things that we've talked about today. And all of the links will be available at our website at sparebrain.com/map, including lots of extra content that we weren't even able to fit into today, even with 40 minutes, such as my Microsoft Dynamics world and some of the different newsletters you can be joining. So there's lots and lots of content. I would encourage people to join up.